As mentioned, the expectations for innovation now are much higher, and building a green product can be challenging. The next panel will cover both the challenges and opportunities faced by green startups and corporates as they foster the nascent green economy sector. Please welcome our panelists, Adham Elmahdy from Geocycle, Khaled Raafat from Tilegreen, Sherif Diwany from MGM Climate Business Developers, and our moderator Lina Zalat from AUC Venture Lab.
مساء الخير جميعاً. I hope you're having a good day لحد دلوقتي. I'm very happy to be on this panel today, moderating the panel with the subject matter experts from this space. Very briefly, I'm going to introduce myself and the topic, and then we can jump into our discussion. Introducing yourselves طبعاً هيبقوا introduce yourselves أحسن مني بكتير. أنا اسمي Lina Zalat. I'm Associate Director at AUC Venture Lab. And today we're discussing, يعني building كمان on the last fireside chat, we're going to discuss how to spark a green economy in Masr. I will let you start with introducing yourselves, and then we can jump into على طول our discussion. شريف تحب تبتدي؟
Thank you. Thank you, Lina. I'm Sherif Diwany. I'm co-founder and managing director of a company called MGM Climate Business Developers. I'm proud to say we're the first Egyptian company that does project development in carbon credits. We've had a very good reaction from the market, and we're very proud to be working in this part of the world as pioneers. في حاجات ناس كتير جدا في العالم زينا, so we're the first here.
Thank you, Lina. Thanks for having me today. أنا أدهم المهدي. I'm the general manager of Geocycle. أنا بشتغل في الويست مانجمنت. We're looking forward for collaboration with you guys. Good luck إن شاء الله.
أدهم ممكن تقول لنا very briefly Geocycle بتعمل إيه؟
Geocycle is a total waste management company. Originally, it is a Swiss company working in waste management. We give the waste another life through changing it into alternative fuels or alternative raw materials. And our approach is zero landfilling. We are working in 50 countries, and we have a big business in Egypt. Last year, we have managed 400,000 tons of waste in Egypt.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Lina, for having us. أنا اسمي خالد رأفت. أنا CTO co-founder Tilegreen. Tilegreen هي ستارت اب في الجرين هارد تك سبان. عندها تكنولوجي بتحول بيها اللو فاليو والانريسايكلبل بلاستيك ويست تو كاربون نيجاتيف بيلدينج ماتيريالز. بدأنا رحلتنا من حوالي 3 سنين. We got very good traction from the market. قدرنا نشتغل مع ميجا ريل استيت ديفلوبرز nationally و regionally. قدرنا نعمل success كويس في السوليد ويست مانجمنت. وقدرنا نتعاون مع الاندستريز اللي عندها huge pain from the low value plastic waste. ومبسوط جدا ان انا اكون هنا النهارده.
Pleasure to have you all. Okay. طيب Sherif, if you don't mind, I want to start with you, given بقى your very vast experience in the global green transformation عامة. يعني I know you introduced yourself في الحتة بتاعت مصر with carbon credit بس we know that you have vast experience in the global scene يعني. I want you to start, if you can help us كده set the stage. تشرح للaudience يعني احنا الستيج دلوقتي في الجرين ايكونومي عامل ازاي في مصر. What are the opportunities? What are the environmental challenges اصلا that مصر is facing? ايه الopportunities اللي نشتغل فيها, and also different initiatives and regulations that برضو بتأثر على الحتة دي.
Sure, that's a very big topic. Let me start by saying that energy is everything in human life and human civilization, and that did not start with electricity and steam engines and so on. It actually started from the very beginning in farming, because we used animals as a source of energy to move things. We used horses and deers, and Santa Claus was bringing our gifts in Christmas. And this is a form of energy. Gratefully, is not as polluting as the one we have done now, but this is essential to remember that any activity whatsoever, as we are doing right now, we are actually emitting carbon emissions.
Yes.
What we're doing right now. So energy is central to everything. That's the main thing when we talk about environment and climate and preserving the planet. This is the main thing to keep in mind. Now, the drivers of a green transformation in anywhere in the world, including here, are actually two good, important ones: regulation and the market demand. Let's start with regulation. Regulation could be a government-issued regulation, so countries outside in Europe and the United States and Japan and a lot of countries in Asia, including China, they have rules that you cannot exceed a certain amount. A sister company of Adham is subject to that. They have a Swiss holding company and a French cement company that has also a capping by their governments that they should not exceed. For that one way of driving investment into moving into a greener model of production. The second one could be voluntary. Where actually, right now, it's the bigger in the world. Yani voluntary money in big companies, because the market is shaping that. I will explain why in a second. And look, the companies choose to commit to reductions on their own. So they say we will meet, for example, we will be carbon neutral by 2030, and we will be net zero by 2050. This is the most common target set globally. And there are big initiatives around the world, the largest of which is called the Science-Based Target Initiative. This has over 7,000 global companies that represent over 60% of global market capitalization. So it's quite a big initiative. All of them have set targets for themselves, and they are being they're held accountable to actually meeting those targets. So this voluntary regulation, if you might call it so, actually drives, again, the transformation into green. And then you have the market demand, the prices. For example, here in Egypt, let's take the case in Egypt, the green movement started when prices of energy started going up. When we started removing subsidies a few years back and recently once again, then the idea of becoming more efficient in your energy consumption made business sense. Mm-hmm. So people invest in projects and technologies that actually reduce their emissions through reduction of becoming more energy efficient. Yes. So prices of resources are quite important. Water is the same. Yes. To create water, you actually use energy to make it clean so you can drink it or use it. So again, water use efficiency is another way of, and so on. So the prices of things drive investment into becoming more efficient in consumption. And then you have consumers. Consumers globally, I mean, here we're not really yet there. The new generation is becoming conscious of that. But globally, there is absolutely, people look at the carbon footprint on the products now. Mm-hmm. Actually, to compete, the companies declare their carbon footprint and make commitments on the reduction. Like Apple, for example, is claiming that their phone is net zero. Okay. So the consumer actually go and look for these things. And then there is also, from an Egyptian point of view, exporters. The people that import from Egypt any product are now looking or asking companies, what are you doing about your carbon footprint? Because they are committed to reducing their own carbon footprint, so they ask the suppliers to do the same. So some companies will not be able to export anymore after 2026 if they do not actually act on the reduction of their emissions. They will be priced out of the market. Last thing I might say, again, driving the market is money. Money drives everything. Huh? So what's happening now in the world, annually, there's around $4 trillion of private capital around the world. Mm-hmm. Half of that money is committed to climate action. They will not invest in a project that is not clear climate action. Okay. So I will stop at that because there are other things I can say, yes, but we can take another round.
Maybe we can build actually on that two last points, where you mentioned a top-down approach to sparking this green economy. But maybe we can move to Khaled, who can tell us a little bit more من bottom-up approach, where startups are trying to find innovative solutions to, you recognize an issue, a problem that has to do with the environment, and you're trying to find an innovative solution to do that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this started and the challenges that you faced for this journey؟ and بقى احكي لنا اكتر
اوكي، هما دايما زي ما بيقولوا الحاجه ام الاختراع يعني. فالحصل ان انا and my co-founder عمرو كنا شغالين في الويست مانجمنت اندستري، ولاحظنا حاجه، لاحظنا ان عالميا اكتر من 90% من البلاستيك ويست اللي بتتعمل كل سنه ما بيتعمل لهاش ريسايكلينج. and that's not because the world doesn't have enough recycling facility، بس بسبب ان في تكنولوجي جاب للتكنولوجيز اللي تقدر تتعامل اصلا مع النوع ده من البلاستيك ويست، بسبب الديجريديشنز اللي بيحصل للويست دي، وان هي اصلا not designed for recycling من الاساس. وانا كانت our starting point ان احنا we have watched some research بيتكلم عن فكرة إنه plastic waste could potentially lead to alternative materials or alternative composite materials, and that was our starting point. We started the garage phase اللي دايما بيبقى فيها hundreds of trials و hundreds of failures لحد ما طلعنا بأول MVP, which is our interlocking tiles made from plastic waste زي التايلز الموجودة تحت الناس هنا بالظبط. we could prove إن هي أحسن بكتير كمان من traditional materials that are made from cement. وبدأت الجيرني من هنا إنه how to move an MVP to an industrial scale facility. وقابلنا هنا طبعا challenges كتير related بإنه when you are tapping into a new field and the ecosystem is still under development or still growing, you couldn't find enough expertise that can help you through the journey out. And then we found out that we have to build our own pilot facility, which we did. We designed our production line and we started our operation, and then we got validation from the market. And I always say that the market will always adopt your product or technology as soon as you are making the decision making easier for them. You shouldn't ask them to sacrifice for something for adopting a green product, because as Sherif said, money is the main driver. So you shouldn't compromise. You shouldn't ask the customer to compromise. So as long as you're offering a new product or technology that is economic and that is eco-friendly and have better technical specs or the same technical specs as the market, you'll find a good traction and adoption. And the last stage we're currently in is that we are currently developing our technology to a whole new level that will make us have the most mass production scale technology in this span in the world, which is the plastic waste to building material span. Because we noticed that all the startups or the SMEs in that field stop at a certain point of mass scale and they couldn't tap into bigger production scale, because the technology is not on shelf there. It's not an on-shelf technology, and people are still trying to develop such technologies of doing plastic waste to building materials, which we are adopting now, and we aim to achieve this new level in order to tap for technology transfer and technology licensing later on.
From your experience يا Khaled, what kind of support do startups work في الحتة بتاعت green transformation need عشان to thrive this ecosystem يعني؟
اوكي، احنا الحقيقه محتاجين حاجات كتير قوي، لانه احنا كلنا عارفين ان لسه we are still not there yet، وقدامنا شويه كتير عشان نبقى there. فطبعا في حاجات كتير، ممكن الجزء اللي علاقه بالبوليسيز والريجوليشنز زي ما شريف كان بيتكلم، او الجزء اللي علاقه بالسبورت سيستم، الايكو سيستم نفسه، ان يبقى فيه اكتر فوكسد تكنولوجي ديفلوبمنت، ستارت اب بيزد اكسلريتورز اند انكوبيتور بروجرامز and hubs for hardware startups. We have seen in our experience لما كنا بنروح الصين وبنروح أمريكا إن بقى عندهم well established ecosystems for hardware startups. So as soon as you have a new product idea, it can come to reality within 2 to 3 days, and that's amazing. So it will take us a lot to be there, but we should start with the baby steps to create our support system for hardware startups. We should first understand their journey, understand that they are not tech startups, so they can't do year-over-year growth or quick break even or even unicorns as we were talking today. So we should understand their journey, give us the correct support system, and offer the right expertise, because technology development and technology management fields are now there for like 20 or 25 years. outside in the Western ecosystems and so on. So we really need to start focusing on the idea of technology transfer, of believing that technologies are the key success to the green transition for the economy.
Thank you, Khaled. Maybe we can return later to a point على funding the green startups عشان it's not the typical VC funding model of investment يعني. بس خلينا نروح لأدهم الأول ونتكلم أكتر على you come from a corporate background and your approach is very different عن what a startup approach does في الحتة دي. فكان برضو you tell us more about your approach عامل ازاي and where do you see room for collaboration ما بين the bigger corporate model in working in the green transformation and the startup model?
طيب, okay. That's a big one as well. So طبعا التارجت is common between startups, corporates, certification bodies, consultants, government, which is to have a market first place. It was the first target for all of us. The common one is to have a market and grow in this market. So this is where we are coming from. In the corporate, we are targeting a bigger market. We are targeting growth. We are targeting this to provide also opportunities for employees, for the country we are working in, and so on and so forth. But we have to adapt also with the market challenges. So what happened in the past 4 years is the pandemic. The need for climate action became more serious. Can anybody imagine what happened in Dubai 3 days ago? That Dubai sank in a flood in no time? No. So there is a real need for the climate action, and we need serious movement on that. And all of this happening with the slow on the regulation part. So we need also to influence and lobby with the regulators to start making or updating the policies we have right now. So this is where we are coming from. We are one member of the team working in this market. However, we have the majority, of course, of the money, of the capitals we have right now, and we can push the investment. But we need also to calculate the returns on this investment. And everything, when it begins, it has a high cost. And after that, after many trials, we adjust and optimize the cost to reach a balance where it comes back to the end user or the consumer who will pay the bill and who will create the chance in this market upon the response of the consumer. So on the collaboration, on the collaboration part between the different entities, we need always to work together. I need a certification body for a new product, which we call right now green products. I need regulation to sell this product. I need R&D to develop this product. And then I need the end user to accept it and to try it and then to keep working with us on this system. So the startups provides for the corporates the speed, innovation, agility, and the new ideas. They are very challenging to us. They work in different models. They are not restricted with the policies of the company and so on and so forth. So they are giving a push. They are also providing a pool of talents for the corporates. So this is where they can benefit from, or we can benefit from. From our side, we can provide data, we can provide access to market, we can provide technical support, we can provide access to these policies and regulations we are working on. In collaboration with the government and NGOs and certification bodies, I think we can make a collaborative model of success.
Very nice, thank you so much. طيب maybe برضو taking from one point you mentioned حتة access to markets. I think this is one يعني other than funding طبعا بس I still believe in access to markets is one of the biggest challenges for startups في المطلق and طبعا when it comes بقى to a green product that you need to validate and في technology كتير قوي that you need to test. maybe يعني I'll leave this as an open question to anyone who wants to answer يعني بس how can we facilitate حتة access to market دي that eventually brings funding for further development. يعني we really want to spark this. I'll leave it open to anyone who wants to jump in. Sure.
I think we can compare the green startups, the green transformation business with the IT 30 years ago. There's a ramp up. There is a difference between, of course, both because the speed of ramp up in the green transformation is going to be much faster than IT. And at 20 or 30 years ago, you could do business without having a computer. Right now, it's impossible to imagine having a business without a computer. It's the same thing exactly. So the market is being created. In countries like Egypt, there are certain parts, certain areas, again, driven by price. Price is key to everything. So waste has a price now. There is a value for waste. The material that comes out that we throw in the garbage, the recycling of it, it brings value and creates money, makes money. So the investments like what Adham was talking about, which is recycling material, it's actually, it generates income. So there is a market demand for it because there are people who want to buy what he produces out of the recycling material. And this, in the Khaled's case, the building sector, it's still not there, but it's also emerging. We are seeing now, it's not because you want to be chic or elegant, you want to have a LEED certificate, or it was the case 5 years ago. Now it's a matter of actually becoming more efficient in running your buildings, in reducing your costs and so on. So they are looking for solutions in the real estate sector, but not yet matured. It's still going to go. So all this, the markets are being created. We're seeing them being created. And look, if, again, I compare between someone who was selling computers 30 years ago and who's selling computers now. It's a completely different market. If you're in the computer business now, you're actually a very sophisticated business with solutions and software on top of it, and you know, client and clouds and so on. We are getting that trajectory of green market is getting there. And I think for the reason Adham mentioned, the urgency of the matter and the scale. It's working again. The scale of the crisis that we are seeing globally is actually pushing societies to move quickly. In the Egyptian case, we are not big polluters. We're not a big polluter. We're actually 0.6% of the global pollution. So we are not, there will be no case to be made for government to set regulations on emission reduction. It will be driven more by the market. But we are victims. We are victims of climate change. We also saw, like we saw in Dubai, we also saw last summer, a storm which we've never seen in our lives. The one that came from Libya, we never saw that. We hear stories about farmers who are losing their crops because of extreme heat. We suffered extreme heat last summer, which we never saw in our lives. And look at today. This is spring. Is this really spring? So there is urgency, much more pressing than the IT one. So I think it's going to ramp up quickly. And again, final point to make, perhaps what's most difficult in the green transformation for a country like Egypt is actually to find a business model for the adaptation, dealing with the impact of climate on the country. So how do you help farmers survive extreme weather, for example? How do you protect your seacoast? How do you, how in Cairo here, we have a microclimate here which is extremely polluted, of course, because of the vehicles. So what's the business case that will help money go through towards that direction? That's where the market is going to be created. That's the point I have.
Thank you very much. It's actually optimistic, Yani, to compare this market to the computer market 50 years ago and to actually see there's going to be a big market for it. That's actually an optimistic thing. طيب, يعني moving on, what يعني waste management خلاص there is a clear use case ليها في market ابتدى يبقى موجود. الناس are adopting it حتى لو براحة شوية. But what else? يعني what's coming next? And again, it's an open question for anyone who wants to jump in. إيه بعد waste management?
Mobility for sure. Energy prices are going up. And I can give you a case actually. Moving from diesel to electric vehicle in a business is a huge money saver. Huge. Despite of the fact that electricity prices are going up, it's still going to be a huge money saver. We have a case, a client, who actually runs a fleet of buses, a tourist company, And they decided that they will retrofit all their fleet from diesel to electric. They dropped their operating cost of the fleet by 40%. The buses equal new buses that are of the same electric buses of like the ones they're going to make is actually almost 1.5 times more expensive than the one they have. So what they do by retrofitting is actually the assets appreciates.
Okay.
So this is quite an attractive proposition. So there is a business case in mobility. What's holding it back in our infrastructure for charging is still not there. But for fleets, it works. And if fleets come back to a station at the end of the day, you can charge, and then you can run the day and so on. But mobility is the next one after waste, for sure.
I think we're right now, yani, we're at the flipping point with our mobility. Do you want to tell us بقى برضو how do you see funding challenges that face startups working in this space? يعني أنا فاهمة إن the VC model of funding or investment is becoming difficult or maybe still new, but are there innovative ways of funding mechanisms that startups can work on?
Yes, actually, as we can see that at least at the moment, green startups or green hard tech startups are not really typical investment appetites for the traditional VCs who want like 3 to 5x return within 3 years and unicorns and exits and so on. However, we have recently seen some VCs are specifically created for this span of startups or products, and also I guess that there is a huge opportunity in innovative fundraising strategies, as you said, like grants. For example, we can see some grants are made by corporates or SMEs or NGOs for supporting green startups. And the last one, I guess, is the VC arms of corporates, because as Mahdi mentioned, corporates have different strategies. Of course, money is the main drivers, but they have a strategic approach for investments, which makes them typically looking for some investments that are not necessarily give the highest return in the shortest period, but they know that this is strategic on the long term, yes, because they are localizing some technologies, they are adopting technologies to make it cheaper in the future or to roll out on a massive scale. So I guess like these three main models are the key fundraising terms for startups.
Thank you so much. طيب, I think we are about to wrap up our conversation. I will leave room برضو for anyone for any final remarks. And my final question is, what is still missing, missing in a pressing manner that we need to work on right now to get started? But again, no pressure. If you have any final remarks other than that, please feel free. I'll leave the room for each one, whoever wants to get started.
May I take this at the beginning? I want to comment on what Sherif has said right now, that yes, after circularity or waste management, there is mobility. So it works like proof of concept, then there is a market or a growth. After mobility being successful and the new normal, it will turn to be a proof of concept for something else. So this makes from the sustainability an opportunity. It is not complex. This is a real need right now, and the smart guys are investing in this very much. We need to be in the same train, to the same road. So final remark for startups as we are in the venture lab today. When you go for a corporate to work with, please consider the money your third priority. You have a lot of data, a lot of resources to make a benefit from before asking for the money. And the last comment or advice for startups, when you go for a corporate to deal with, don't go for 1 or 2 guys only. You need to engage with all the executive committee, because if you have a deal with 1 or 2 and the rest of the executive committee are not on board, then you are losing time. So you will consume a lot of time to reconvince them and re-engage them again. So start smart. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yad.
Okay. From a startup point of view, I will say that a startup should start up at the following point. Actually, the market, which is the most important. If you find the market, you will get the money. That's the most important. So where's the market right now in Egypt? It's in the big players, companies like Adham's and others, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all the big multinationals, and some of the big Egyptian companies. They have demands, they have an opportunity, and they're looking for innovations and solutions. So I would say a startup should start looking at how to enter the supply chain of a big player, because that's where the path of growth exists. Because there is definitely opportunities, and we have a very short. I will very quickly refer, and I think I remember Khaled how we met now. There was a project 3 years ago. The concept of it was actually encouraging green innovation and green startups. And what we did in Egypt is that we created partnerships with multinationals like Pepsi, IKEA, Nestle, and some of the actually textile companies in Alexandria. There's a huge Pakistani one. The largest textile of cotton fabric in Egypt is actually a Pakistani company. They all had targets to meet in reducing their. So we said, okay, guys, we will work with you to formulate what we call innovation challenges. And these innovation challenges will be put out for other entrepreneurs. They will submit their innovations and their ideas to solve the problem that these companies were. And mobility and Nestle was the distribution fleet. It was about how smart management of the fleet, not necessarily retrofitting, because that's a big thing, but softwares and solutions that can actually optimize the use of the fleet. That was one of the startups that came. So they link yourself with a supply chain of a big company.
Very insightful. Thank you so much. Khaled, do you have any final remarks?
Yes, actually, I totally agree with what Sherif and Mahdi said, and I also want to capitalize on the startup side. First, try always to adopt the customer-centric approach for technology development and the product development. So, because the key challenge here is how to tap into the market very quickly. So, always try to build what the market really needs, not what you are capable of doing. The second thing is don't stay too away from the market, and believe in the value of iterations. Always try to get into contact with corporates, with customers, and hear their feedback, because their feedback really matters. Actually, what Sherif just mentioned, 3 years ago, they supported us in getting introduced to Sodic and Nestle, and we actually figured out that they have some challenges that could be very valuable to solve, and we didn't even think that we will do this, although we could capable of doing this. And 3 years later, we're still working with both of them. So stay close to the market. And the last one is build your own support system. So you're developing something new. There is a lack of expertise, and we can see it easily. So try always to build your own support system, and the ideal support system for me is one subject matter expert from your technical market, and one customer, and one supplier, and one angel investor or mentor. This will always keeps you pushing towards the excelling in the journey and achieving the break-even or the market adoption point. My last remark for the other side, which is the ecosystem. The room is really open for having hubs or support systems for hard tech startups or green startups. We know that there are not really too many in the ecosystem here, but there's also not any focused programs at maybe not all. Yeah,
so it's
some
coming
few.
up.
Yeah, it's coming up, but the room is open, and you'll be amazed by the number of solutions and the innovative technologies that you really find. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was really a pleasure, a very pleasurable conversation. أنا personally تعلمت كتير. Thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And
Thank you, Lina.
thank you.